City of Stevens Point Finance Committee meeting, recorded October 11, 2021.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:38 on the 11th of November. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I will call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. And scroll down. Our first item of business is roll call.
Okay, Dalton.
Here.
Johnson.
I am here.
Morrow.
Here.
Shore.
Here.
Slowinski.
Here.
Oh, yes. Okay, 5 present.
Thank you very much. Item 2 in our non-action items is update on the 2022 operating budget.
Yeah, so I included a memo about this. Typically, we don't present the operating budget until the 4th Monday of October, so we are still working through some of the details with the operating budget, but I did want to give you an update as soon as possible because it does affect some of the other items on the finance agenda today. And that is that we are looking at a tougher operating budget for 2022 where we did have to find a solution. And the solution that we've basically figured out is moving some road funding from the operating budget to the capital budget. And to give you a little history sort of in chronological order, in 2012 when the city had a more difficult operating budget, at that time there was money in the operating budget for road maintenance and improvement, for road construction, and that money was moved from operating to capital in order to balance that budget. And typically that's something that it's very difficult to get money back into operating just because of the tight levy restrictions that apply to the operating budget. Well, fast forward to 2018, our transportation aid went up a little bit. Part of that was due to the fact that we were investing more money in roads, and we still are, so that's pushed that transportation aid up a little bit. So we set that money aside to go into road construction to continue to leverage sort of that investment. And then for 2021, that amount is $217,000. And unfortunately, going into 2022, it looks like it's just going to be very difficult to keep that in operating. So we'd be looking at moving that to the capital budget because at least the capital budget is not restricted. Now, as far as what that does to road construction funding for the 2022 budget, I know at the last council meeting, I told you that we found an extra $285,000 that we could put into the capital budget for road projects. So that, sort of boosted that number up from the original proposal. Well, now that you subtract the $217,000, it is still money ahead from what was originally proposed. But, we were hoping to be able to do a little bit extra and really enhance what we were putting into road construction. And now it looks like, some things have gone the other way on us a little bit. The other, I think, big note to make on that is the extra $285,000 that we found for 2022 capital for road construction is one-time funds. So we also need to keep that in mind that, okay, even if we don't backfill that for 2022, structurally over the course of time, we are going to need to figure out how to backfill those dollars. So, and of course that, I wanted you to have that update so that you knew that for one, the discussion on the capital budget, and then also for the discussion on the tax rate and those dynamics.
Thanks, Corey. And this is a discussion item only, but the strategy, it's sound. we've used it before and gets us out of a pinch. Questions?
I have one.
Alderman
Do they say where that one-time tax money's, what that one-time 200 and some thousand is actually coming from?
Yes, so the $285,000, that is extra money for roads, was related to an increased subsidy for the transit program. So our transit system is funded partially by local dollars and partially by state and federal dollars. And as part of some of the stimulus related to the pandemic, we were basically, the federal government said, you know, we're in for a higher percentage to try to help out municipalities during this difficult time. So that means that there's less money that we have to transfer to transit for 2021. So then instead of transferring that $285,000 to transit, it can be transferred to the capital projects fund and then go into 2022 capital projects.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to go to Alder Slawinski since he's online, and I just don't want to miss him. Any questions?
I do, but it's probably going to be lengthy, so I'm going to contact Corey tomorrow,
Perfect.
and then, then we'll have better grasp on this. I'm a little confused, and it's probably going to take a while to kind of weed through that, so I'll call him tomorrow.
Yep, great. Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks, Corey. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. And most importantly, thanks for coming up with ideas. I like ideas. So, next item on our agenda. I should ask if anyone in the audience has any questions, any alders? Sorry for neglecting you. Next item. Discussion and past possible action. All of these items are action items. Discussion and possible action on developing a process for awarding grants and subsidies to outside organizations. Corey and I have been having a rather lengthy discussion about this. Actually, this is ongoing over a couple of years. And here we are. It's that time of year again when we start talking about that. And go ahead, please.
Sure. So I know we've talked about the process for awarding grants to outside organizations. I know that that's typically come up as part of the operating budget discussion, as far as if we wanted to have specific requirements or if there's sort of a framework for making those decisions. But I guess I'd really leave it up to the committee and to council as far as if there are specific things that you would like to see. I know one of the things that we did based on sort of some past suggestions on this topic was that we do have a more thorough contract now with the Portage County Business Council. They are the organization that most of the funds go to. But certainly I guess, wanted to see what the expectations are in terms of what you would like to see, if you would like to have a formal contract with each, entity that we provide support to, or just kind of what the thoughts are.
Thanks. And of course, I'm not going to editorialize. I just want to provide some reminders. There were a number of questions from the Stevens Point Alliance last year? Mm-hmm. Thanks. Time flies, and when you get gray, it's just a blur. But anyway, Stevens Point Alliance had come in after the fact, and then there was discussions on, how do we want to do this? And yes, we did come up with a contract for the Portage County Business Council. I thought it best for the Finance Committee to have this discussion on what their framework, if any, they wanted. Did they want to go with what we've been doing in the past and just say, good to go? Or did we want something with a level of accountability? So, go ahead.
I know in the past we did talk about certain benchmarks that we wanted in the contracts as well, and to also show what they're doing with the money. As before, I know it was for the most part a handshake agreement that we had in the past for years. to show what we're actually getting for the money that we're putting towards them. So I know that's something that we talked about, I believe, last year. And we've talked about that for a lot of the historical handshake agreements that we have had in the past.
Yep, that was part of the discussion. Go ahead, Alder Shore.
Thanks, Chair. I think that some of what we've been working on with the Portage County Business Council, I see as helpful actually moving it away from the category of a grant. I think there was some legitimate ambiguity there, and the discussions revealed more how there's an element of services provided, an element of constituent member also. And it was the approach from the downtown businesses that forced the issue and made it uncomfortable. And I think that's the main concern, right, is we have a small set of these that's kind of just there because it's there. Yeah, right, like, and if, I would be less concerned that if that's kind of how it just stayed, and more concerned if we face the issue from new requests.
Alder Dalton, anything?
Yeah, I guess I've just been considering that the ones that are in our current budget are often because the organization has asked. And so that is like what Shore is bringing up, that, well, if we just open it up, more and more could ask. So I think I'm interested, in something that may be a cap on a percentage of the organization's overall budget. And that then if that organization is growing, it becomes a smaller and smaller amount that we are giving them. And I think that encourages sustainability of that organization itself, and also lends to furthering support within the community itself. So, and then, but to contrast that too, I think to have a pool or some availability that if it's a new organization, maybe it's a different, we're willing to put down more because they're coming with a vision for what they are going to do, and they have that report back. And I think that allows the city to then the opportunity to support new organizations who have a vision for what they might bring to the community and how they might, build culture or build economic development. And I guess that's kind of what I've been thinking about on those lines.
Good points, thank you. Alder Slawinski, you have any thoughts on this?
I really, the last item that, the first item on our agenda tonight, Corey comes out saying, we're having issues with our operating budget for 2022. We have to, we're going to have to move some money around, this and that. I just feel, and again, I know the discussions we've had in the past that, there's got to be a formal request for these monies, and I don't know. I think we need to start focusing more on just let's take care of our taxpayers, and we don't have to be. What's gonna happen here is we're gonna start getting these organizations that are gonna, they got money, and now we have to try to decide who we're gonna give and who we're not gonna give to, and how much. And so I guess I'm just a little torn on this, and I'm getting. It just seems that I'm hoping that this doesn't turn out where we're just going to have a, sign up and we'll look at consider giving you grant money. So I guess my biggest thing is if we're going to do it, we need to be fair to everyone, and we can't continue to I guess saying no to some and providing for others. So that's all I have. Thanks.
You're very welcome, thank you. Any members Alder Christensen, I was going to just call you Mr., but you now have a title.
I guess my one question is, how are organizations made aware of what kind of timeline they need to make their requests in? You had mentioned that that something came in after the fact in the past. Is there some place where that's made public, that date, or how are they made aware of what the process is?
Good question. Go ahead, Corey.
So the last new organization that we started funding is Create Portage County. And at that time, it wasn't even that we necessarily said, okay, we have money available to give away. They actually approached the city and said, we want to start this new, basically program. We want to do this, and basically we're looking for help from the city. So, and then how that ended up happening is we basically were able to get that $10,000 for Create Portage County into the budget. So it actually, you could almost say that process didn't start with the city, it started with the organization. But in general, the organizations that we support, which would be mainly the Portage County Business Council for $35,000 a year, Create Portage County for $10,000 a year, and then the City Band for $5,000 a year. Those are the three biggest ones. It is something that it's been established, and it just keeps going from year to year. So it's basically your typical, I guess you could say, incremental budgeting, where it's really based on the support that we've given in past years. Not that there never are changes, because there are. There have been changes in the past where during a difficult budget, you might cut back on some. During a budget where you have a little bit more money, you might make some changes, but it hasn't changed a lot from year to year. And like a lot of things with the budget, once you do something once, it kind of starts to set that expectation that, okay, this is coming, every year.
Answer your question?
No.
Nope.
I still, for the other organizations that
Please, thank you.
Sure.
There is no process per se, correct?
Yeah.
There's not actually a process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After he said that for the last 4.5 minutes, there's no process.
Right, but I guess my concern is, I think it's pretty well understood by the organizations that are presently involved. But if there are other organizations, how would they know that it's in existence, that there is an actual timeline that a request would have to be in by? Are other people made aware of the fact that they have that potential to make a request?
Thank you. That's all I can say at this point, because I've had similar concerns. Thank you. I see Alder Zarazua standing there, and we'll welcome her to the lectern.
Makira Zarazua, District 4 Alder. I guess my only question or suggestion is, we've talked about having anyone who is getting money from us to kind of present that to us of what they're doing with it. And we can put that in place whether or not we open it up to everyone. That seems reasonable for us to be having kind of that regular reminder of here's who we gave funding to and what's being done with it. I know the Business Council does come and present. I don't know much about City Band, so I don't know if they could come and play for us or how we could arrange that. But
Every Wednesday during the summer.
It'd be lovely.
But just, I think that's something that we could implement as saying, regardless, if we give you funding, we do expect to get an update and put a time frame on that, knowing that it has to be before the next budget cycle so that we would even consider giving that funding again. So,
Great
thank you.
suggestion. I'll come back to the committee after. Is that okay, Aldermero?
Yes.
Anyone else from the audience? Aldermero.
I know when we had the COVID relief, we had an announcement for that, and Ryan got applications and so on. We've had the Downtown Business Bureau come, we've had the Southside Business Bureau create Portage County. I mean, so, and we've always had those, and we've like taken those we've always taken those recommendations on merit to decide what we're going to end up doing. Some have been successful, some haven't. But again, when we've talked about the band's been around over 100 years. So it's not something that just came up anytime recently. We've had pictures in downtown with the band from 1900s. So, but we have had groups. If groups feel like that they have merit, they just do contact the mayor's office, and they present to us here.
I remember wanting to be in the city band back in the 60s, so that's how, they have been around a long time, as have I, so that was always a dream.
Oh, I brought that up.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Unless I'm misreading, I think that there's a consensus that this is not a part of the budget that we see growing, right? That all the other questions.
Yes.
Okay, so start with kind of that consensus. Well, so then the question is, I mean, the reason I said that there's not a process is that we're not soliciting applications. We're not. That's the COVID relief situation, was particular. So then, if the amount of money is constant, then I guess the obvious next question is, well, what does that mean in terms of the limited number of groups that we're already supporting, and whether just expect that, and maybe there, I could see an argument for that those contributions are in a special category. I don't know. We already talked briefly about how the support for Portage County Business Council is not exactly a grant in the normal sense. So, right, that's, I think what the question is do we continue to treat it as we have been, that, it's the set of 3 at basically those levels? Or are those going to be re-examined to be reduced? Maybe, maybe not, and, is there room for additional, given that we expect that we're not trying to do this more?
So I think you hit the nail on the head. There's probably two choices, two actions. I think one is an affirmation of the amount typically in the budget, that there is either a consensus or there isn't, that this will remain in the budget. And the second action item is really about the accountability on the backside. I believe, like what Alder Zarazua had said, on the disbursement of that money, and then ultimately the accountability back to council on that investment. So I think that's the way. There's 2 actions. That's, anyway, in my mind, and would open it up as.
Well, I mean, I suppose I could make a motion of a resolution confirming whatever, that the existing level is one that we see remaining flat. If that would be helpful, I'll make that motion.
That's a motion, yes. And would you like to articulate what that amount is?
Is it 52?
It's $52,100.
From memory, how about that? Yeah, that the support of local organizations, it's our intention to keep that flat at the $52,000 level.
We have a motion. Is there a second? And maybe there's not. Then I would call for, is there a motion? Or a second, rather? there a second? The motion fails for lack of a second. Yes, sir.
So when we talk about funding these non-city agencies, we also talk about things like the Historic Society, the YMCA's teen program, and the American Legion, I believe. There's a small amount going there.
There's a couple of others, yeah.
I would submit that the council has the authority every year to affirm or deny any and all of those. And rather than, just have some sort of blanket policy to do that, in addition to that, you still have the authority every year to say, yes, we feel we're getting value out of this, or no, we don't.
Or we can have a discussion about it. So that's what we're doing.
What does that mean?
Just like we're doing now.
Right.
As a committee, just getting the sense.
Right, but that wasn't part of my comments.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that you
Yeah.
you assert this every year.
Certainly, this will come back in the budget
Right.
without question, so. If there aren't any other actions on this topic, we will revisit this at the budget. I thought it was an important discussion, and it clearly was. So thank you very much. Next item, discussion and possible action on the 2022 capital budget and capital improvement plan for 2023 to 2026. Go ahead, Corey.
Yes, so that was included in your packet, the updated capital budget. The only update from last month was the addition of the $285,000 for road construction that we already talked about. And then we'll also be adding the $90,000 for sidewalk repair and sidewalk continuation as well that we took up last month, so. But other than that, this is, typically we present the capital budget in September. We give the council, the finance committee, a month to go through it and think about it. And then really this meeting is to say, okay, what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Alder Shore, you
I
had your
move
hand up
approval
first.
of the 2022 capital budget.
There is a motion and a second.
A second.
Just like that, isn't that amazing? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion, questions, comments about the capital budget, other than good job, departments? Go ahead, Alder Shore.
I'll echo that the budget is intricate and has, all the departments in it, and not easy for us to wrestle with all of those trade-offs. And so we always appreciate the work that goes in by the managers, department heads, citywide officials, into looking at all that and striking the right balances. So that's a thanks. And I guess just to quickly add one more thing about streets. This council, within memory, kind of faced this issue of deferred maintenance. Kind of did the responsible thing about trying to shorten the time that it takes to do all of the streets that we're responsible for. And I think the discussion that we're having now is the same one. It's the same responsibility, and there doesn't seem to be a way around it. It's helpful to the extent that the marketplace helps us. I heard about all those bidders. That sounds good. That sounds like
Yes.
Supply is getting better. And maybe technology is helping, I don't know. I know that there is some innovations happening, in public works. So I guess those were just general comments that I wanted to make about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, capital time is brutal as a department head, I know, so I do appreciate all the work that goes into that. So anyone from the audience to speak to the motion? One question, when will we have what we are pegging the levy at for capital? Are we gonna blend it in with the budget?
Yeah, we'll blend that in with the budget.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor of approving the capital budget? Please say aye.
Wait,
Ooh. Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh, I'm sorry, Jeremy. I've been so
Nope,
good at
that's all
trying to
right.
remember you. Go ahead, Alder Slawinski.
Well, and again, I guess I want to make a comment. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but you know, you look through this capital budget, and there's several items that are kind of getting kicked down the road to upcoming years, just because we simply can't do them all. But then we look in the Parks Department, and that the Grohalski Park Phase 1 Park Engineering and Design. Here we have a new entity coming into the city that the taxpayers are going to have to fund. I mean, I'm so grateful for getting the gift, but again, we have a hard time taking care of the stuff we have already, and now we're pushing our existing needs kicking them down the road, and we have an item that basically trumps all those other items. So, and again, I know it's small; it's only $20,000, but I've argued this over the years. That let's worry about taking care of the stuff we have now and not bringing on new. I guess I don't really want to call it a burden, but just another entity that we have to maintain and take care of. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, and once again, sorry for neglecting you. That was not nice. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the capital budget as it was presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item is discussion, hang on, I can't even read. Get down to this. Discussion and possible action on setting guidelines for the tax rate for the 2021 tax year and 2020 doable payable taxes. There was a memo which was very clear. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good. So this is a continuation from our discussion from last month about taxes for the coming 2022 budget. As I mentioned, we are expecting at least the possibility that some of the other taxing jurisdictions could go down, namely the school district or the technical college. We don't know yet what's going to happen with their levies. That's something that we'll probably know around the beginning of November. So the concept is, okay, well, if that does happen, most people really look at their overall bill as far as their total. So if we have some flexibility from some other taxing jurisdictions, keeping their taxes really reasonable, and also from the impact of the state budget, basically buying down the school district and the tech college tax levies, the policy question for the council is, how do you want to handle that? As far as, okay, that could be an opportunity. I mentioned in the first item about some of the operating budget challenges and the need to structurally build in some more money for road construction based on having to take that money out of the operating budget. So, based on what happens with the other taxing jurisdictions, this could be an opportunity to take care of some of those other issues, as well as potentially offset, any increase in taxes during the revaluation year, which tends to be a more difficult year for readjustments for, some of the taxpayers that might see a shift in the tax burden. So I guess what I'm looking for from you, in the past, we've really just talked about our own levy and what we're targeting as far as a percentage increase for our own levy. For this year, what I would suggest is that maybe we set that target for the total levy, as far as the total amount that the taxpayers have to pay, and then basically adjust our levy to hit that percentage. So what I would suggest, and just throwing this out there, is targeting a 2.5% increase as far as in the total tax levy. And if we, basically, if with our levy and the other levies from the school district and the tech college, it looks like it's going to be less than that, well, then that would be sort of our cue to say, okay, now, we can build in some more money to backfill what we had to do for road construction, or to make that revaluation year a little bit easier.
Thank you. I really like the strategy of the overall, so that's really nice. Questions for Corey, comments from, all right, we could entertain a motion.
I have a comment.
Yes.
One comment I have, one of the concerns I have is I know that, as Corey has mentioned each year, is that the state would used to have their funds, they would have the annual state aid. And the rate from that keeps going down and down and down and down every single year. I think last year's from 1991 rates or 92 rates or something like that. And to I'd be kind of concerned if we would try to pigeonhole ourselves into what we would end up doing, because there seems to be a lot of what ifs that are out there. And I saw that Katrina Shank, there's going to be a proposal for eliminating personal property taxes, if I'm correct, and the outcome that could have for us as well. So to try to corner ourselves in at this point, I think would be kind of bad planning, because there's so many, as I said, there's so many what ifs at this point.
Good comments, thanks. Other comments, questions, or motion? Yes. Aldershot.
Thanks, Chair. With everything we've talked about, the argument for doing what we can on the street side seems really strong, and also seems fitting. Obviously, what we're talking about here is another one of those one-time, right? This isn't about every year. I'm not sure I understand how the helping with the revaluation would work. I mean, I don't know how the revaluation works, but what would we be doing to help with that?
Sure. So basically what we would be doing is, if we make that adjustment now and we're able to add money to capital now, what that does is that helps basically eliminate the need for, or reduce the need for, a levy increase in that year. So in other words, if we're able to make that adjustment now and sort of shore things up now, that would allow us to avoid it in that year. So because basically right now, we've already basically have a policy to say, okay, we're going to try to increase our levy by about 2.5% per year, just to keep up with inflation and the inflationary costs in both, operating and capital. So if we're able to, let's say, do a little bit more of an increase in one year, actually get ahead of inflation maybe, well then in a future year, now we have sort of room to give, to say, okay, we can not do an increase this year and let inflation catch back up to us.
The hit would still be there, but a little of the edge would be taken off.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's not, I don't hear you describing something that is going to literally even things out when, right? Because that adjustment is going to be based on, well, the properties that have appreciated by a lot more. That's where they hit. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it would help a little bit, but as I said last month, I wanted to be very clear that it will not eliminate, any hit from the reval. It'll help, but I think you'll still see some adjustments. And then the other thing I wanted to mention on as far as sort of pigeonholing ourselves in, one thing that I do want to stress is I think that this works in a year where the other taxing jurisdictions go down. Unfortunately, I don't think it works in a year where the other taxing jurisdictions go up to try to offset their levy, just because, there have been some adjustments, for instance, when the school district did a referendum. I mean, there was no way that we could have offset that and maintained our current, city services. So I just don't want any confusion there. So.
Any questions? Alder Slawinski, do you have any?
Yeah, thank you. I guess not so much a question. I kind of want to echo Alder Morrow's concerns that I guess where I'm somewhat hesitant is that there's so many variables. I mean, we have 4 different entities that impact our taxpayers. And, and I get it to kind of have a plan or, somewhat of a vision on kind of where we want to go. But I mean, every year there's just so many variables that can change. I guess I'm all for a plan and kind of a vision, especially as we come up on this reval, to have a vision. But I mean, it's just, I don't want to get ourselves into, approving something and then we're locked into it. And now, we can always change things, but
Right.
I guess that's my hesitation is, there's just so many uncertainties each year over year, to have something, some sort of, kind of a set in stone, guideline, I guess. So thank you.
You're welcome. Again, not trying to editorialize, just provide some information at the county budget meeting. Corey, you were on that. I was, of course, on it as supervisor. The county, it'll probably make everybody feel a little more comfortable. It's projected that the county will go from $5.23 to $5.03. Did I remember that correctly? So that looks like the county component of the overall tax rate will be coming down based on the projections that were made last week by the county executive. Just wanted to share that. The other thing I'm going to suggest is, I agree with Alder Slawinski about setting a framework, and this can be a target. We can revisit this, but I think what Corey is looking for is guidance. And if there's agreement that this is a good framework, now if it's blown out of the water, you can be darn sure that he's going to come back and tell us. But saying that, I guess I would entertain a motion in that regard around the discussion that we had.
If I can just get one clarification in as well. So really, we're just looking at this for the upcoming year.
Right.
So when I know I said tax rate planning and sometimes tax, planning, it sounds like, okay, this is a multi-year thing. But we're just really looking at this for this year, basically, more or less as a one-off based on some of the information that we're seeing in terms of the initial indications from both the state budget and the county apportionment. So. Sorry.
I'll make a motion to affirm Comptroller Treasurer Laddick's framework for tax rate increase for this upcoming budget, up to 2.5%.
Thank you. There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
And we have a second. I forgot to ask members of the audience if they wanted to take part in this very interesting discussion. I knew Supervisor Alder, wrong meeting.
Yeah.
Alder Christensen would have some questions.
No, just a real quick comment. Corey and I actually had a good discussion on this prior to, and one of the things that I think is really important for taxpayers is try to avoid the roller coaster and just trying to even out. There's always going to be increases, but it's a lot easier to handle if it tends to be less of this. They'd rather see this than a dip and then having to take that big hike the next year. So I think this framework takes that into account, so I think it's a good idea and I'm supportive.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alrighty. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Where are we now? Discussion and possible action on approval of additional funding for 2021 building maintenance and repairs. Can say that, right?
Yep, so the memo is included in your packet. Every year, we budget $50,000 in the capital budget for building maintenance and repairs to cover the unexpected things that are bound to come up throughout the year when you have a lot of city facilities. And usually we have money left over at the end of the year in this account. However, it doesn't look like 2021 that's going to be the case. Things have kind of went the other way on us this year. One of the big items that we had is we needed to replace the climate control unit in the server room at the police department, which actually holds the main city servers. That was $41,500. So out of a $50,000 line item, obviously that's a pretty big hit. We were saying, okay, let's hope nothing else happens. And now we've run into an issue at the fire department with some flooding in the basement. And looks like we're going to have to do something to remediate that situation to prevent the basement from flooding again. We're still looking for a solution on that, but I am looking for more authorization. Basically, if you'd be willing to add another $50,000 of authorization to cover not only that, but also anything else that might come up over the past, over the next 2.5 months.
Alder Shore.
I move that we allocate an additional $50,000 to help cover the building problems that we're aware of in fire and here, in this building, right?
Yes.
Right.
I second, Alder Morrow.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Members of the audience? All right, bringing you back. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on the opioid settlement. I don't know if Attorney Beveridge wanted to provide us any background on that. Or joining the class, that's what it's about. Sorry.
Yeah, really not a whole lot to say about this. Basically, it's just if you join a class for this, you forego the city's ability to bring its own lawsuit, but that's not really something that we're looking at doing. So I don't think we're going to try to take on the pharmaceutical companies ourselves.
Come on. All right. Thank you. Alder Shore.
I move that the city of Stevens Point join the class for the opioid litigation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alder Dalton. Any questions, comments?
I do have one comment. I do have full faith in our legal counsel report of the city if we do need anything.
Did you hear that?
You're here. You're just been delegated. Attorney Beveridge. Anyone from the audience? Excellent. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion and possible action on the consideration of a claim from Angel Mansell for pothole damage. And of course, the recommendation is we deny, so.
I'll make a motion to deny the claim for pothole damages.
There is a motion to deny.
Second.
Ooh, and second, any questions, comments?
And is the Angel here?
I don't.
See anyone?
I don't know if she's
Is it
online.
Grievant here.
I'm assuming
If
that's
she
a
wanted to
female. I
say
shouldn't ask. That
anything?
was terrible of me. Is Angel present?
Christie's with the YMCA.
Pardon me?
Christie's with the YMCA.
Okay.
That's not it.
Thank you. I just didn't, I want to make sure that they were available for comment if they wanted to. All right. We have a motion to deny. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on approving a change in telephone service providers to TDS. You all saw the analysis based on the proposals that came in. I would entertain a motion. Yes.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the change in contract to TDS for telephone service.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I second Alder Morrow.
And there is a second. Any questions, comments? Question, comments from the audience? Excellent, bringing it back. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on the approval of the claims paid. I would entertain a motion. Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the claims paid.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second on the floor. Any questions about all of those claims, which were, seems like there was a lot this time. More than usual, or is that just me?
Yeah, we pay a lot of bills.
Yes, you do. Yes. You pay a lot of bills. I'm glad you do. Yeah, keeps us in good stead with our vendors, right? Any questions from the audience? Excellent. Bringing it back. All those in favor of the motion to approve the claims paid, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed would be no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 11, adjourn into closed session at approximately 7 o'clock. Not
Not
bad.
bad.
Not bad.
No, we've done worse. Pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, paren 1, paren E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session on the following: negotiating a development agreement in tax incremental financing District 10. This, I would entertain a motion.
Alder Morrow, so moved.
There is a motion to move into closed session pursuant
Second.
to the statute. There is a second. I believe we need a roll call vote. Well, you don't
Yes.
need it, but that's our custom, so.
Yes. Okay, Slowinski.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Dalton.
No.
4-1.
4-1, motion is approved to go into closed session at 7:31. And we will be in closed session as soon as the room is cleared and all of the,
It might be worth noting that we will not be returning into open
That's
session.
thank you. We will not be returning into open session, so if you're hanging out in the other building or online, we will say goodbye now and thank you for your attendance.
All 3 people.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.